Welcome to the YouTube channel Awakening with Apple Wang. I am your host, Apple Wang. The goal of this channel is to investigate spiritual phenomena such as near-death experiences, deathbed visions, past-life memories, and other spiritual communications, as well as alien and UFO encounters, as to demonstrate the immortality of our souls. My intention is to bring you humanity, healing, wisdom, and answers through sharing some of the profound spiritual investigations and individual encountering experiences, thereby facilitating unconditional love and spiritual as well as universal consciousness. For more information, please visit my website www.soulregressionhypnosis.com. To book a free strategy call, please scan the code below or check out the link at the description box. Welcome. This is episode 1. Today's guest is Grace Love. We will be talking about QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Grace wears many hats. She has a keen interest in the unknown world since she was a little girl. Once a multi-award Vegan Café winner, she is now a oneness blessing giver. Followed her consciousness expansion in 2011, she founded and gifted Give Foundation and a vegan festival to the local community. Currently, she is the only level 3 certified quantum healing hypnosis practitioner in South Australia. She is also an informed trauma healer through many of the techniques that she masters, such as Hakomi Somatic Psychotherapy, compassionate inquiry, resource therapy, and rewind technique. With her thirst for learning and knowledge, she is on her pathway to complete her master's degree in clinical hypnopsychotherapy and counselling. A big welcome to Grace again. Thank you for coming to the show. My first question to you, could you please just share us a little bit more to the audience of what you do?
Yes, thank you, Apple, for such a beautiful introduction. Well, I do a few things currently. Most importantly, I'm a mom to two beautiful children, and I offer quantum healing hypnosis technique. And I also run a successful clinic or wellness center in Adelaide, from where I practice. Apart from that, I also co-run pranic retreats with Raima Orr. And these are currently happening online but live. And pre-COVID and next year also we going back to doing in-person retreats.
So, wonderful. Tell us, how did you start your journey as a healer?
Well, in terms of QHHT practice and heal, if you may, it's very interesting because I hear a lot of practitioners talking about how they came across Dolores by accident, and sometimes clients say it the same way. And I was reflecting on that and on my own journey. And you know what? I realized that, in the past I was saying, oh, it was by accident because this and this happened. And but I realized that I actually manifested it for myself. And it happened when I was pregnant with my daughter. And after giving birth, I decided to offer, as you mentioned, the Give Foundation and the Vegan Festival to a friend to run it for me. I sold the cafe I was running as well. And I wanted to really to focus on my motherhood. And at the same time, I had my mind before breastfeeding my son for 3.5 years. And I thought, okay, it's probably going to be same with her. And then I would like to go back to work and do something. And so I was thinking and putting it to the universe and asking, what could I possibly do next? And I knew I wanted to change something and provide service in a different way. The cafe, it was more like, when the cafe especially was behind the scenes, providing love through food. And with the festival, it was sharing the knowledge. But it was very distant in a way. I knew the impact of what was, of what I was contributing towards, but it wasn't very personal. And I thought I would really love to do something personal where I can see a change in people quite tangibly. So, and so I remember it was this particular moment, was one day when it was on Facebook, someone tagged me in a post. They thought and believed that I could help them remotely. Never done any healing remotely. And I thought, wow, well, if they believe that I can do it, maybe I can. Let's see what's possible. I thought I better ask someone else to help me with that because I didn't have any experience how to do that. And I asked 3 other people who I knew from consciousness development program to find out a little bit more about my own experiences. Through that process, we agreed, the 4 of us, to meditate for half an hour and focus on that person. And what happened afterwards, when I was speaking to that person the following day, they didn't know what we were doing. But I saw, like, inside of me, or while we were meditating, a few things. And then I referred that to these other 3 people, and they confirmed it.
For the audience benefit, please allow me to explain what happened. Grace and the 3 other energy healers were meditating on a lady to help with her healing. During the meditation, Grace saw herself cleansing a spider web that was energetically attached to the lady's front head. She then saw another meditator putting stitches at the same spot. The meditator confirmed what she saw in her mind's eye, and the lady also verified that she felt something was happening at her front head.
And I thought, wow, how's this even possible? I mean, you hear about all these, things and healings and connections when people have. And I even myself had this, or still have this, I don't know, a gift, maybe I can call it, when my child, for example, is feeling hurt in a particular part of the body, I could feel it in my body in the same way, and through like an electric shock, if you may. The lady, one of the people who were helping me meditate, it seemed like she was doing the main operation, if you may, for that remote healing, to suggest any materials for me to read and to find out a little bit more about this work. And she recommended Convoluted Universe by Dolores Cannon.
How beautiful.
And that's how it started.
So you were led to know QHHT technique. So it's some sort of awakening during your breastfeeding period. Would be
well,
the
yes,
effect of breastfeeding.
That's true. That's true.
How QHHT has been changing your life so far?
Well, it's an interaction that is happening between 2 people. Really, what's happening is that it's almost like we're on the same boat, because what's happening is that I'm just assisting in their own healing. And when they connect with their higher self or the subconscious or the SC, or, it has many different names, oversoul consciousness. It's such an honor to be part of it, to witness this. I witnessed it, of course, I was part of it when I had my own session, so I know what it's like. but to witness it when someone else is going through it, it's a completely different experience. And it's so rewarding.
Absolutely.
And you know, there's times when there's something happening in the room that is quite magical. So yeah, so that's definitely impacted me in that way, and it still does. Every time I see someone, I feel so honored that people put that trust in me, that I'm this a safe place for them to be able to do that self-healing, and
Yes.
they feel safe enough to go under. And also another part of it, it's very interesting what has happened, Apple. I have become aware of human suffering that to the extent that I was not aware of before. Like I knew that it existed, like, you know, the things that happen in the world and things happen to people. But to actually realize it and feel it, what it is like, the depth of it, it wasn't in my awareness in the past.
Maybe that's the reason that you have this connection. You can even sense your children's pain in their body. Do you feel like that opened a new
Yeah.
portal that plugged into different sort of a channel that you can just be so compassionate? You can instantly, that's kind of a knowing that has come to your body. Is that so?
Yeah, I think there must be something there. And, you know, and it's very interesting, Apple, when you mentioned the word compassionate, because there was a time in my life when I felt I wasn't compassionate enough. And every person I saw that was compassionate, I felt so inspired by, and I was so drawn towards it. And there was one moment when I had an experience with a person who was, in my eyes, very, very compassionate, like, you know, to the point that, like, just, oh my God, I just wish I could be like that, you know, to like, I really, really felt that compassion. And then I realized, actually, I saw myself in that person. And I realized many times when the clients come to me, they're feeling drawn because they see something in me that it's in them, but it hasn't been recognized yet or acknowledged.
Absolutely. That it seems like the QHHT definitely, or the healing work that you have been doing, has opened a new door and a new possibility and accessing these, feelings inside.
Yes, and definitely expanded the emotions, human
Yeah.
emotions, to a totally different level.
Beautiful. So how long did that take to complete the entire 3 levels of QHHT training?
Wait, it is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. The level one, it can be done either online or in person, depending where the training takes place. And Dolores did that over the weekend, and online you can do like a self-paced, so it can take you a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's entirely up to the person. Any of your viewers would like to do that training, they can use a discount code, oneness, to get a 10% off, and it's valid all the time. So that takes a while to do the actual theory, and then the person needs to do 10 sessions to practice for free. But overall, it's 25 sessions before you even can consider level 2. So it depends how often the person offers those sessions. That's how long it's going to take. Honestly, Apple, the first 25 sessions were the sessions I really remember. They had a huge impact on me too, because it's like, you know, you're learning about it, but you're also witnessing the power of the technique, and in such a profound way that you can't not believe. You can't, because it's happening. And there's things that happen just aside of it, or as part of it, or as a side effect of that. It's just mind-blowing, and sometimes you can't even explain it. Yes, the level 2, it's like a next level when you practice the voice, to master the voice of talking to people, which is really important because you want to make sure that the person feels safe. The voice is a very natural nurturing, and people are actually drawn to this work because they already have this nurturing voice. But there is just like those little tiny things that we master. And then the level 3 usually takes around 9 months to 12 months. And that's fully supervised by either level 3 practitioner who has got an extensive experience, or by Julia, Dolores' daughter herself. So she sees what I do. So she's part of the session. It can be recorded or in person, depends on the situation. And I'm scrutinized exactly, what things, where can I get better, what, to make sure that I follow Dolores' method accordingly to the protocol.
Beautiful. So it is a
So yeah, it may
proper
take a while.
process that takes
Yes.
a year to 8 to 18 months, let's say. Is that correct?
Yes,
Complete.
so it took a while for me, because even level 3, you can only do it when you've done at least 125 sessions. And for me, that was more than a year. So I think it was maybe 2 years by the time I've done my first 125.
That could take a while. I can imagine. Yes,
Yes, yes.
absolutely. So what does a session look like and how long that may take? I'm sure that many of our audience would be interested to know how it actually goes.
So the session usually goes between 4 to 6 hours. Sometimes it's longer, but it's never shorter than that.
A very long
So if
session.
it's shorter than 4 hours, that's not QHHT. Why is it important to have, and why is it so long? Because sometimes people say, oh, why is it so long? Well, it is so long because we're going very deep. And in order to go very deep, we needed a preparation for it too. We can't just go and ask a person, someone comes to me, they've never seen me before, when you need to open up in a way to a stranger. So it takes time to build that trust. And sometimes it can take, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depends. What happens is we have a chat. We have a chat about the person's life story, what relationships they've had, what has impacted them, and what do they have, what they want to have a session in the first place. So we really want to be curious about what brought them to my office. And so I'll be able to ask the right questions to help communicate and facilitate, the session, and communicate with the higher self or the subconscious. So it's really important that I understand the person's story, where they're coming from and where they want to be, so I can be that bridging the gap, in the present moment.
Absolutely.
From the past to the future, if you may, and bridging it.
I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Now, please allow me to share a little bit about myself. As a professional working in the field of helping people, I have an advanced diploma in clinical hypnotherapy and psychotherapy. I'm also specifically trained in past life regression, quantum healing hypnosis technique, and the life between life therapy. With this profound technique that I have learned, I have been helping many of my clients, particularly in the area of relationship healing and pain management. Hypnotherapy is a rapid transformational technology using the hypnotic arts and sciences that is designed with the purpose to create positive changes and therapeutic effects. This safe and natural process normally begins with deep relaxation, often evolves with guided imagery and suggestions. Through identifying the root cause of a challenge, It helps to break old, destructive, and even harmful patterns and habits, thus facilitates subconscious relearning. The hypnotic state is a spontaneous process that happens in our lives all the time. Some are concerned about losing control or being manipulated. Such myths and misconceptions are due to the lack of proper understanding about this natural process. To learn more about hypnotherapy and what I do, please visit my website www.soulregressionhypnosis.com. You're also very welcome to book a free initial strategy call with me. Scan the code or check out the booking link at the show notes. Thank you.
And then yes, there's the second part of the session is when they actually laying down on this comfortable chair. You can see in my background, it's a very comfortable chair, and a person can make themselves in a position that's suitable to them, and they go on a journey. And that journey is a little bit of the unknown, because everybody is so different. Everybody's experience is unique, so there can't be any expectations. And so if someone was recommended because of the friend who had a session, it's really important to forget about that. Forget about someone else's experience. Forget because it puts an expectation of, for example, of having a particular past life, where it might not be past life. It might be a future life. It might not even be a life. It might be something completely abstract, like I had a client who was a concept, and so it's really so open that there's no need for putting this pressure on oneself. See what my experience, because it's not what we want, what we expect. It's what a person needs, and why that subconscious part brought them to the session, to think ahead of what am I.
So that is having an open and welcoming attitude, and just allow it to happen, rather than trying to analyze it, criticize it, and thinking about what's going to happen. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And up also, this criticism or self-criticism may come up in the room, and we want to welcome it in a way, but with gentleness and kindness, because if it's coming up, there's it for a reason. So I want to be curious about it. I want to be curious. I want the person feel that's okay to, because if that's something that we naturally do, self-judge, or for example, or hate a part of us, let's be curious about it. What is it? Because obviously that part is there for a reason, wants to express itself in one way or another.
Beautiful. So in a session that normally after that we have this pre-talk, pre-consultation, whatever that you call it, then you start
Yes.
with this hypnosis process. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
Followed by some deepening technique, and then do we proceed to always or start with a past life regression?
Some people, well, Dolores used to call it a past life regression, and only because I'm not sure if you're aware of her beginnings. You probably are. She wrote a book. It wasn't the first. It was the first book of her experiences, but it wasn't the first book that was published. Five Lives Remembered, and she came across this because actually, really, it wasn't even Dolores who started this work. It was her husband. So her husband was into hypnosis, and then Dolores started to be really interested in that because of what was uncovered. So this one person came, was looking for help, and out of the blue started to having these experiences, memories of being a completely different person, and as if they were that person. So Dolores and her husband had many sessions to confirm and try to ask different questions, you know, different way to see what's going on. And they actually proved it, that there was such a life, and they were able to research it and confirmed it. And the person who was under hypnosis had no recollections of what they were saying, and also were answering in the same way, you know, in the questions that were maybe asking a different way about the same thing. So it started happening that this lady, she had like 5 different lifetimes that she remembered. So Dolores, for a long time after her husband couldn't do it, and she started being interested in that technique, she called it the past life regression, only because, you know, that's all, that was it to it. But after many years of work, she entered this other dimension, if you may, or aspect of human mind, if you may, and something else started to happen. And that's how she discovered the subconscious. And she called it the subconscious because she didn't know what to call it. It's not the subconscious that the psychologists talked about, the childish part of us. It's the higher self. It's a bigger part of us, the bigger me, that has got all the knowledge of who we are, what we've done, knows exactly everything about us. And so yeah, when she discovered this part, then it shifted a little bit more. So when you're saying about the past life regression, we can call that there's parts of it, but as I said before, it's not always the past life that comes through. So, and that's why the method was changed and developed over time, and now it's called quantum healing, because there's so much happening during the session. It's so transformative that we can't just say past life regression. So if someone calls me and says, I would like to have a past life regression, and I can't say that, you know, QHHT is the best thing to go about, because past life may not come through. Something else may come through. So if someone is really going for past life, that's what they need to go for, a typical past life regressionist.
So that is after inducing hypnosis technique and a deepening technique, the client may go to the spiritual realm directly without necessarily going to a past life. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's exactly correct. People have out-of-body experiences during the sessions too.
What does that feel like out of body?
Well, this one person I recall, it was very interesting because, you know, in a position I'm sitting next to the person, and the person is telling me, well, I'm hovering above the ceiling now and I can see the top of your head, you know, and yet her body is obviously there on the chair speaking to me. And yet she's talking about an experience that she's having, so she's able to be in the body and outside of the body at the same time. So that's fascinating, you know.
Was that a positive experience? Is that a euphoria, a pleasant experience, or could it be something different?
Where the subconscious never gives us anything that may be out of our comfort zones. Okay, it would never do anything to harm us, because, you know, it's been there all the time. It's there to be there for us and always guiding us, whether we're aware of it or not. That's a completely different story. So those experiences that happen, they don't happen to everybody. So it only happens to people who are open to this, who feel comfortable with this, and who need to experience it for a reason. So if I wanted to, for example, I remember in my own session, I wrote it, you know, because in order to prepare for a session, you have to prepare a list of questions.
Yes.
To your subconscious. And I prepared a question. So I would like to, have astral traveling, experience astral traveling. I have experience of it because I've heard of other people having these experiences. And little I realized that I've already been doing it without knowing. But the subconscious said, it's not something for you to delve through this lifetime. It's like a kindergarten. You don't have to do that. You have way more different and more important things to do.
So as in the conscious mind having this curiosity, wanting to know, do I travel by flying objects in the space? So the subconscious actually give us insight. That is a very elementary activity that we do as a soul. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess we're getting information what is really necessary for us, what we need to do in this lifetime, and focus on the purpose of this lifetime, rather than doing things that your viewers would like to do. That there's so many things we could do. Yes, we can learn how to levitate. We can learn, go and be a pilot of the plane. But while we're here, why this lifetime, while in this body, what is the purpose of that? And many people come with that question, and focusing on that lifetime that we're living now. I guess it's the most important lifetime to focus on, because that's the one that we're living right now.
So there is a purpose for everybody, every person here on earth?
Well, we can ask the subconscious. Maybe some people don't have a purpose. Who knows?
Interesting, because I can see that the audience may have different type of opinions. I have met so many people. They ask me, do I have a purpose? Or some would be really, really rigid with this idea. I don't think we have a purpose. We're here just to live.
Yeah.
That could be the purpose, just to live, just to make most of it. You don't necessarily need to be successful to make such amount of money or to achieve certain social status.
That's correct. That's completely correct. And Dolores talks about it also in one of her books, Three Waves of Volunteers, whereas one wave is exactly the purpose of existing is existence itself. You don't actually have to do anything. You're just here to provide the energy, just to be.
Does that means 1/3 of the population? Since there are 3 waves.
Yes, 3 waves, but I have a feeling there's probably another wave. Okay. But but again, this is something we can be curious about and try to discover. And in terms of percentage, it's really hard to say, and because this may change, and also when you have pioneers and leaders to bring the work, as Dolores talked about it, we can't say that it's 30%, because usually these are like a small amount of people to start
how small work. That is this light worker. I'm aware this theory that we are transitioning from the 3rd dimension into a higher dimension, and we're also here as you and I are light workers. We are trying to lift the human vibration. So what sort of a population we're talking about doing this kind of work?
I can't say, Apple. I don't really know. And I could say 1%, I could say 10%. I believe that everybody can be a light worker. Everybody can do a service to humanity. It's just a matter of choosing, making a choice.
It's very interesting. I felt like you just opened a new door of knowledge, as in that we can all become our own healer. And the fact that us healing ourselves is a way of healing the world, isn't it?
That's completely correct. Yes.
Beautiful. And so what do you actually, use QHHT for?
But there's 2 things that perhaps might be useful to talk about. One is the actual people who come, who Dolores said about to manifest the clients, because we're not, there's a lot of us. We can't help everybody. And so I manifested that I wanted leaders to come to see me, people who help other people. And sometimes people come and they not even realize that they are leaders, because there might be something that they feel it's blocking them from stepping into that leadership role and assisting others, or and another thing is that people who do come, there's a lot of people who want to find their purpose. There's people who are anxious, a lot of anxiety about the world, what's happening, especially recently with the COVID. A lot of people with depression, and a lot of people with other issues, which I don't want to talk about all of it in detail, not to trigger anybody, but people of different walks of life, different situations that have happened to them, very traumatic experiences, that really who want to move through it to be able to feel like they're whole again. So I guess it helps anybody. It doesn't really matter what the problem is, how big or small it may seem. What it matters is if that calling, if you feel like you're called to have the session, and also choosing your practitioner in a way that feels right for you. So it doesn't have to be necessarily level 3 like myself. It can be level 2, level 1. So you can go on the official website, look at the photo of the person, email them, call them, see what it's like, feels what it's like to connect with them. And based on that, choose your practitioner.
I've read some of the information that comes from Deloitte Cannon's website. It states many of these diseases that the medical field have challenging with have been cured or resolved. I'm gonna just read a few.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask your opinion on this. AIDS being cured and eradicated from the body, heart conditions healed, surgery no longer needed, deteriorated livers and damaged kidneys being regenerated and restored to full function, 20/20 vision restored without any operations. So these just a few examples. Can you tell us a little bit more about the power of QHHT without any biased opinion?
So I can speak about my own experience when I healed myself from my condition, and also what I witnessed, and things that I witnessed, because there's one thing I need to mention, that because you only need one session, so very often we don't hear from the clients after the sessions, but from those people who I have heard, these are the accounts that I can share. And I know it's firsthand, an account. So the power is it's like Dolores talks about, our mind is going to be twisted like pretzels. It's not something we can explain, and I think the science is slowly beginning to understand it, but it's not quite there yet. And so it's not something we can make a formula and say, well, this is what has happened and that's what's happening, and this is how to heal it, because every person's experience is so different. And having said that, I do want to mention that I had quite a lot of clients with anxiety in particular, which I've noticed that the subconscious healed that anxiety in the same way, without these clients knowing each other, different backgrounds. The only difference that I noticed, it was that they were using different language. So for example, just to give an example, so for example, for me, I could say I can see molecules floating in a space and expanding and moving, and another person can say, I see the stars in the universe. And another person can say, oh, it's like some kind of vibration, like molecules, but it's like atoms vibrating inside my body. And the other person could say, oh, they're like little dots, popping in and popping out. So it will be different way of interpreting the same experience, the same healing that the subconscious does. And that's just mind-blowing in itself. And I have had people with severe anxiety, even OCD, who have healed themselves from that. A person, for example, was struggling to just coming to see me to the office, to come to the office, and going out to, to see people. And I remember vividly when she contacted me, and she said, first of all, she said that she could hear like my voice in her mind speaking sometimes, and also she was able to go to a place, like her favorite place, to get something that she really loved, all the other side of the town, to the point that she even went to a concert. It was just mind-blowing, because someone who is so scared to leave the house is doing all these wonderful things and connecting with people, friends that they've lost. But I would say it was within internal and very expansive in the same way. So it's not just one thing. And we know that, anxiety and depression, they're more mental illnesses in terms of, affecting our energy and mind, but also physical illnesses have been healed, like asthma or cancer even. It's a self-healing. It's something that happens within the person, working with the subconscious, that shifts things inside. And I had a person who had asthma all their lives, and I only know because later on they came back to me and they told me about that they don't need any medication, they have no symptoms, they just have a totally new life. These things happen.
Person actually was born with asthma, and after a QHHT session, the asthma symptoms completely disappeared.
Yes, she had it all her life. It all disappeared, all symptoms.
What do you think was the curing power? Was that the subconscious? Was that something else? Was that something visiting the body or some guidance?
The subconscious, in that case, the subconscious heals it, and it brings to the awareness why the illness was there, where did it originate from, what was the purpose of it, and why was it lasting for so long. So there's always a reason, there's always a purpose of any illness. Usually it's the body tries to give us a signal or a message. And Julia Cannon, she wrote a wonderful book, So Speak, that explains, the messages of the body. There is some kind of it's like a language that we can tap into it. And maybe there's like similar ways of everybody's body communicating with us, but there's also individual ways of communicating with the body. So, and that's when it comes, the individual experience of everybody. But in that case, the subconscious brings the awareness to the awareness of information about that, and then heals it in a way that is appropriate for that person. So the healing happens in many, many different ways. It's not just one way.
So it's not necessarily the subconscious is doing the work. Could it be other resources?
Sometimes other resources come through, yes. Sometimes it's the healing through different parts. Could be, the parts that can be called guides, or parts from in between lives. I had a lot of clients going directly to the source, and the source was doing the healing. So it's so different with everybody.
So, well, we talk about using QHHT helping people with, in your case, it seems a lot of anxiety clients or ailments. Does that mean that all ailments or physical conditions have a story to tell, or is that related with a soul lesson?
The conscious mind might say, my body's getting old.
It's not a soul lesson. How would you interpret that?
Yes. Well, if the body is getting old, could be a question to the subconscious. Tell me more about it. Why is the body getting old? Because is there a need for it? Because we used to that belief that the body needs to get old, and we used to also believe to the body living a particular amount of years too. And we can notice it in different cultures, a different longevity too. And we try to find out, oh, maybe it's their diet, maybe it's, but what if it's not? What if it's not just the diet? What if it's their belief systems? The really biggest key to any healing is curiosity. Being curious and surrendering to it in a way instead of knowing. Because, you know, just because someone else's experience might be, okay, well, they have asthma, that means maybe they were burnt in the past life, and, you know, something like that. That doesn't mean that's my experience. Well, let's be curious what it is for me. Why am I having this? What does it mean? And Dolores talks about that we all deserve to have a healthy, functioning body, being in harmony, even if the body, physical body, is aging. Us, I don't want to say identity because that's not the correct, accurate word, but we can say a soul if you want, but just our essence. We don't age. You know, I mean, we even say things like that. Many people do. You know, oh, I'm 50, I feel like 20 still. So it's like we already having this information coming through us in many different ways. But why are we not listening? Why are we not kind of being curious about it? I have a person who I know personally who has been saying to themselves, for every year I get older, I feel 4 years younger, as if I live 4 years, but I only age a year. And this person is very vibrant, very energetic, you know, and you know, you look at them and they look much, much younger than they are. They feel much younger. They talk as if they were very young in spirit, and young people connect very easily with them. So you think about it, you know, what is it? It's just one person and the whole family is different because it's the same diet, same country, same, but different mindset.
It's absolutely mind-blowing that how curiosity, the desire to learn more outside of this body can change or transform our life completely. And the concept of that we don't age, or similarly to we don't die, and that perhaps can take many people a lifetime to grasp the idea. So throughout your practice in QHHT, do you actually combine with other your modalities helping clients?
Well, with QHHT, we're only allowed to do a pure method of Dolores, and so that's what I do. And when we talk about other techniques, I probably will say it's maybe not the techniques, it's maybe, you know, every practitioner is different because of the different experiences they have had, different life journey they've had. Like, you know, I've worked with many different people from different walks of life. So my experiences and perhaps values, personal experiences, even spiritual experiences, they make me who I am. So it would be not accurate to say that I'm not using something that I've learned with Dolores, but at the same time I'm not. So if it makes sense, it's because all the experiences that I've had help me understand the person and help me ask the right questions, just like Dolores learned for over 40 years, you know, interacting with people, learning how to ask the right questions. Through her experience, I incorporate in a way as a part of me, but everything else is like I have to stay unbiased and non-judgmental.
So I interpret that you do energetically apply your other skill sets in your questioning skills, or how you actually guide the clients, not necessarily to adding something new into the session, but the model itself is pure QHHT based.
Yes, that's right. And that's why people will be drawn to me, because of my experiences, and some other people will be drawn to you, Apple.
This program is produced by Zentopia Healing and Soul Regression Hypnosis, with a mission to help individuals to awaken from their daily mundane lives. If you enjoy the show, your considerate donation is graciously welcomed. Please scan the code below for donation or check out the link at the show note. Like it, subscribe it, and please share it with your friends. You're also very welcome to leave a review. All of your support is sincerely appreciated. And here's my website, www.soulregressionhypnosis.com. You can also find Soul Regression Hypnosis on Facebook and Instagram. Scan the code below to book a free initial strategy call, or check out the link at the show notes. Thank you for watching.
So is that a level of depth of trance that is required in order to enter a QHHT session?
Anybody can have a QHHT session, and everybody can go under hypnosis, because after all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, as we know, and the practitioner helps to create that space for someone to feel comfortable and relaxed and safe enough to go into that state. Now, also want to talk about, it's a very natural state that everybody experiences every day. So, now as we talk, we talk in the beta brainwaves, but we also enter alpha brainwaves, and it happens scientifically every 60 seconds. When we drive a car, when we forget, oh, did I pass that? Or didn't? Or when we watch a movie and the ads come on and say, oh, what movie was I watching? So we enter the state very naturally. And alpha brainwaves, it's like a gateway to theta brainwaves. And theta brainwaves, we do that every day as well, before we fall asleep and just before we wake up. So I actually personally use that every morning for myself, to go enter that theta brainwaves to bring the information for me. And anybody could do that if they know how. And once they have a session, they can do it themselves too. Now, that's the whole idea. You don't have to close that window, that door open. You can leave it open in a way. You don't have to close it. And you have that knowing how to access that, because it's all within us. So it's a very natural state. What's happening, what's the difference in a session, is that we extending, stretching a little bit more than the natural state. Because the natural state, it happens, a little bit shorter, and it happens, in our bed when we're asleep by ourselves, and in therapy room, there's another person that's speaking to you. So it is slightly different, but we create all this environment to almost like allow the body to feel as if it's going to sleep, but the person doesn't go to sleep. It may feel like it, and it might be somewhat aware too. So yes, it's a very unique experience, very powerful, and very interesting, I would say. Interesting.
Thank you so much for that. That certainly is a good news for many of the people. They wonder, can I enter that hypnotic state? Can I get into these quantum healing sessions or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
And even, Apple, people who feel like they have aphantasia, that they can't imagine things, there's no problem either, because it's not just about imagination, it's all perceptions that we have. So we all go into that state.
That is, we use different sort of sensor organs, hearing and sensing.
Smelling, knowing, inner knowing.
Do we have any contradictions that certain people that we actually don't see them in the QHHT session?
Yes, so I do not see, and that's across the board for all practitioners, people who are deaf, because then we can't communicate with them. Also people with multi-personality disorders, because it might be really difficult to discern who we're speaking with. We don't see children. However, in terms of children, a person can be a surrogate. So if a child needs a healing, the person, like usually someone who is really close to them, a mother or father or a guardian, can be a surrogate for that child. And when I say a child, I mean, we base it on their maturity level. So it can be like a 12-year-old that we could see, but it could be a 14-year-old. But other than that, I think that's really it.
So what is the most profound healing experience that you had so far with the application of QHHT?
Well, I can say my own experience that was very profound. The clients who have had physical illnesses and mental illnesses healed, that's almost wonderful. But I guess having it on my own, it's like changes the perspective and the perception of what's possible. And I had issues with my physical body. And it's very interesting also because the session that I attended for that healing was a very terrible session. It was, I didn't enjoy it, the session itself. I remember it was raining outside. They didn't let me inside. I had to wait outside. I was 15 minutes earlier. And then once I was inside, they were smoking a cigarette and saying, oh, I need to wait. And then once I waited, they said, oh, I have to talk to my publisher. And so it won't be long. I'm just on the phone. So, and then they started offering me some kind of totally different technique, not QHHT, asking me about different things. And I was very confused, I remember. And also the same was this anger bubbling. I said, what am I doing here? What's going on? You know, that was supposed to be QHHT, yes.
So we might need to block this out the camera.
I know. I was just and I had that session at the beginning when I had my own training because I wanted to know what it's like for me before I start offering it to others. So I remember it was very, very terrible. And the person was charging me also per hour, 100 an hour. And I spent the 6 hours. I was so confused. Also, I realized that I learned something about myself through that session. And that was the whole idea of it, you know. Even the session itself, how it's perceived, it's part of the healing. And and that even it's not enough, because the healing starts to happen before we even go into the session. The moment we book, things start to shift. So in my case, for example, I was really fed up with that. I remember I just was fed up. And I said, I just want to get it over done with because I'm paying here a lot of money.
Was there a moment that you wanted to give it up?
Yeah, I didn't. I just thought like, oh, it's very important to me. I want to have this session. I just came here all this way. I would just put up with the rain, you know, it's not something I can control, right? So, but then as time progressed, then afterwards, yes, after the session, I realized I was learning about assertiveness, my own assertiveness to say no and to speak up. Because a few hours in a session, I said, excuse me, I'm really sorry, but I'm here for a QHHT session and I'm not sure what's going on. So I did speak up afterwards because I just couldn't handle this tension inside and this confusion. And then I remember the person said, oh, okay, no worries. just like that. And I said,
That must be a very unique experience.
very interesting. So anyways, and then I had my own session and I was able to heal my physical discomfort, which, you know, as it was happening, it's like I didn't want to believe, because I was really like not happy with the whole thing, you know, and I just wanted to be out of there. And I remember there's like even like when I started seeing things or thinking about things, there was like, you know, cartoons, and I was just like, no, it can't be right, it can't be working, it's not working, it's just some Winnie the Pooh, and you know. But that's how the subconscious wanted me to relax, through cartoons. So I invite also all clients to say, it doesn't matter what comes first to your mind, just share it, whatever it is, because that's how it helps, you know, just really just go with it. No matter what it's, how funny, silly it sounds, that's the whole idea, to push through the first initial maybe doubt, you know, and disbelief. And then with the healing, things started shift for me. I started seeing, that was very interesting. I've never seen anything like that before. When I connected with the subconscious, I could feel the shift. And with the healing itself, it was like there was two figures, and they were like a blue electric light beings.
Made you some sort of image, or do you see a body figure?
It was a body figure. It was two distinctive body figures, and at the end of the place where I was laying down and working with my energy, and doing something with my energy body. And I remember vividly what, you know, seeing that and what was happening, and then also what they were doing with my body. Well, as you know, I can say it's a higher self, or different beings, however you want to call it, doesn't really matter. But the healing happened, and I remember vividly when I left, and because I was so disappointed with the whole thing, so I didn't even think that it was actually real, you know, it was just my imagination or something. And then when I was coming back home, I noticed there was no discomfort, no pain.
So what sort of pain were you experiencing, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, sure. So I had severe pain always in my back, and to the point like I was always like moving, and I couldn't find my
The
place.
lower back and your lumbar spine?
Yes, yes.
Was that a constant pain that has been lasted for many years?
It lasted for a long time, since I was a teenager.
That's a long time.
Maybe even before teenager, and to the point that causing me moving a lot. It's
you
like
have to move in order to reduce the pain. Yeah.
Yes. And then also to the point, like I remember that why was it important for me to heal, because I said, well, if I'm going to be in the room with the person and I'm just kind of moving like that, people are going to feel anxious just by looking at me.
Yes. But did you consult a doctor? So before you went on QHHT, were you looking for all these scientific ways to addressing the pain?
Well, I did. And they told me that I have scoliosis and nothing can be done about it.
We hear quite common, isn't it, nowadays?
Yes, nowadays, yes.
Yeah, nothing can be done about it.
No. I can do some exercises maybe, you know, but
yeah,
it's just going to be there.
How quickly did you notice the change after that interesting session, let's put it this way?
So that was straight away after I left the building and went on the bus. I noticed it on the bus.
So basically it happened immediately, and as soon as your conscious awareness came back, you just noticed that you weren't really so agitated.
Yes, it happened straight away.
What was you thinking then?
And then I thought, oh, but so why was it such a bad experience, you know? When I'm thinking about this, you know, why was it? And then this thought came, well, this is to learn how not to do the session. So it was a lesson for me.
Well, we have to reassure the clients, if you're going to have a session with Grace or with me, whatever healing that you're going to do, we guarantee you're going to have a smooth, happy, pleasant session for sure.
We're not going to ask you to wait outside in the rain, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to do anything else apart from what you came here for. That's correct. And for me personally, a lesson to speak up. To speak up and say, being assertive.
How you were led to QHHT and having your first QHHT that is so unexpected, yes?
Yes.
Now
yes.
you become a level 3 practitioner. The journey, I can see, it's now absolutely rewarding. Not only that it heals your physical ailments, but now leading you to a much higher and deeper consciousness level.
Yeah, I really feel blessed and appreciate Dolores for starting this and giving that opportunity to us practitioners to be able to carry that legacy, you know, and Julia as well for providing those trainings, you know, continuing doing that.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of the trainings, do you have any advice for our audience?
Yeah, so as mentioned before, you know, anybody could go on their website. It's QHHTofficial.com or dolorescannon.com. And there's online trainings, in-person trainings. There is a possibility to do it in person, level one companion, which I also offer in Adelaide, in South Australia, but there's also different people around the world. So depending where you are, you can find the practitioner. Putting the discount code oneness in the coupon, that will offer a 10%. Sometimes it's even up to 20%. So it depends on the month of the year.
Would you say that people who are doing this healing sort of a work, are we selected personnel, or can anyone become a practitioner?
Well, I feel like anybody who is drawn towards it, it indicates that they're already interested in the healing and in assisting, in exploring the power of the mind. So that already is it's a great foundation. So anybody could learn it. Now, once you learn it, whether you want to do it as a work, as you're saying, it's entirely up to the person, because you start doing practice to make, you know, doing practices, and once you actually practice, that will indicate for you, is it something that you want to do, you know, as something like, you know, a part of your life, or is it just a hobby, you just were curious about it, or what? So I guess having through that process, theory and practice, will be able to give a person a better picture of it.
Beautiful. So would learning hypnosis be the first step before someone jump into QHHT?
What Dolores says about not to learn anything else. Yes, and if you do, or if you are already a hypnotherapist, forget about everything you've learned, because sometimes it can be a hindrance, because there's different ways of performing, like mainstream hypnotherapy. There's particular protocols and particular mindset. So sometimes this can be an obstacle. So if you have had hypnotherapy before and you want to expand to QHHT, there will be a time and the necessity of unlearning things. Okay.
I see that a lot actually in my session with my clients. A lot of them, a lot of the healing happens when we actually unlearn, as in let go of what we learned in schools, universities, and even in our past, you know, our past 30, 40 years time. It's
if you had no prior experience in therapy, it's okay. Sometimes it's the best gift, because then you've got this natural gift of service. The biggest thing is that self-discovery, and it's in a safe way that you're able to go into the places with the help of someone next to you that perhaps in the past was hard to do or difficult to access. QHHT is more about discovering the power of self through the assistance of another person, that initial person. So you're able to take that tool and use it yourself. When we talk about Vipassana, you learn a technique to practice inside, and you repeat it, and then you repeat it, and you observe and you observe. It's different. You in a way, you're by yourself, and you only have a guidance after the technique if you want to discuss with the teacher. This is like you, with QHHT, it's like you're going inside and seeing all these different things and saying what you're seeing. And then I'm asking that question, oh, tell me more about that, or tell me what's happening there. It's like having the guidance just next to you while you explore. So it's like a little, not the one saying manual, because it's not quite manual, but it's like this safe, like extra additional tool just to start exploring. Okay. Yes, it's very empowering. It's very empowering. And I had one gentleman, I remember, he said he's been seeing psychologists for 10 years, and he hasn't learned throughout all these 10 years as much, excuse me, as during those few hours with me, just during that session.
We can call that, I guess, from what you just said, it's like this powerful technique is actually a rapid transformational technology. Would you?
Yes. And I'm not saying that, there's no room for psychologists. So
absolutely,
I want to make it clear. It's just that's the experience of that person, self-discovery, and that way it's like, oh, that's what's happening, or that's what's happening. And so yes.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. I think it's important for us to recognize whatever healing modality, scientifically, or other healing modality that current science is not able to explain. Doctors, psychologists, they all have their purpose of existence. I think it's important to recognize what works for you and stay curious.
Yes, the curiosity is the key. Yeah,
that's so wonderful to learn from you, Grace, today. And I guess we are about time to the end of the session. And I'm aware that you have so much more to share with our audience.
I did have experience that led me to Dolores Cannon prior, which you mentioned about 2011. It can be called out-of-body, near-death experience. There's many different names that we can call it.
I look forward to future conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Apo, and I really appreciate and feel honored to be able to open your channel this way, and for you inviting me. Thank you.
My pleasure as well. We're doing the same work, that just through different bodies.
Yes.
Thank you once again, Grace, for coming to the channel, and for the audience, we shall say goodbye for now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.